Here we go. I think we've talked about these before, but hey, we can do this again. The first one is the commutative property. You use these all the time. You just never really call them by these names. And to help you remember what they are, think about what the word commute means. We talked about what commute means before. You guys must have remembered 8th grade. If you commute to work, you commute to school, you blah 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 blah. You move to kind of what commutative property is. And that is this. That's the reason why we talked about it already. 6 plus 8 is the same thing as 8 plus 6. The numbers have actually moved. Okay, it's important because you'll get if you don't understand that, you'll get it mixed up with the other properties that we're going to talk about there. And in math, because we don't like to give exact, specific examples, we always want to show it with letters. If in math they will show it not with 6 plus 8 equals 8 plus 6, they will say, well, the letter A plus the letter B is going to equal what? Maggie? Yeah, B plus A. Okay, B has to be the same number, A has to be the same number, but you put any number you want in for B's and the A's. Got that? Got it. Perfect. Second property. Anybody think they know what it is? Somebody say it. The associative property. With the associative property, children. Oh, yeah. It's the commutative property is the same for multiplication as well. That's why 4 times 2 is the same as 2 times 4. A times B is the same as B times A. With the associative property, what word do you see in associative? Associate. Yeah, it's about, if I ask who you associate with, I ask you like what group you kind of hang around with. Okay, associative property is about grouping. And here is an interesting fact here. The associative property, the numbers don't move. What moves are the parentheses. So, if you see something like this, 6 plus 7 plus 4 equals 6 plus 7 plus 4, what happens is this. In one case, the parentheses around the first 2 numbers, and in the second case, the parentheses around the second 2 numbers. You can group them however you want, but the numbers stay in the same order. It's only the parentheses that move. And you know that's true because 6 plus 7 is 13 plus 4 is 17, and 6, 13 is 17. 7 plus 4 is 11, plus 6 is 17, that works the same. How do you suppose they show that with letters? Well, it's the same thing. A plus B plus C with the parenthesis around the A plus the B equals A plus B plus C with the parenthesis around those 2 things. And the same thing is also true for multiplication. 6 times 7 times 4, which I don't know why you'd ever do, is the same as 6 times 7 times 4. And because of those properties, kids, like I said, you have done these since forever. You just probably didn't realize you did them. Sorry. This isn't going to work. I've failed at this so many times. So maybe it will. Don't worry about the big letter C. What's an example of this? When you add numbers together, let's say you're adding 57 plus 62 plus 33 plus, 18. You've been taught these properties long before now, because when you add these numbers together, what do you usually do? If I'm adding the ones column together, David, you usually
put the 2 and 8 together.
Right. You change the groupings of them. You change the orders, you change the groupings. Now, whichever way you want to call it, I would say this is, when we add these together, really we kind of do the commutative property, because really what you've done is you've moved the 8 up here, or whatever, the 3 up there and the 2 down there. You always do that, oops, sorry. You do the grouping for it. And in math, they're gonna ask you to justify why. Why can you do that? How can you do that? Because of these properties here. If you do subtraction, if I was doing 62 minus 5, well, I don't know, I can't talk about that. Alright. But you can do the groupings there. 7 plus 3 is 10, 8 plus 2 is another 10, you get 20. You do the same thing with your groupings there. 7 plus 3 is 10, and you get what? 17, 170? Something like that. So make sure you get those properties down to your mind. A couple other ones that we don't see very often. Do I have enough room to do them here? Sure. Is the identity property. And when you think of the word identity, just think of getting the same answer you started with. Getting the same answer. For example, and you have to be careful with this because there's a different one for identity property of addition. Let me ask you this question. If I start with a 6, what do I add to 6 to end up with a 6? It's hard, I know. What do you add to 6 to get 6? Julia?
0.
A 0. And that's what the identity property of addition says. When you add 0 to anything, you get the number you started with. Written out in letters, it would look like this. A plus 0 equals A. So what do you suppose the identity property of multiplication is? Identity of multiplication. Aaron?
1.
Exactly. 6 times 1 is 6. So anytime you add or multiply by 1, A plus 1 is going to give you A again. And only one last one, kids, and I'm done talking for the day. I heard a sigh of relief from somebody. Anybody? Who is that sigh of relief from? Really, Tim? Of all people, I've taught a lot of cook boys and none of them have ever sighed relief. The last one is the 0 property of multiplication. 0 prop of multiplication. Maybe you can guess what this is. Anybody want to say? Anytime you multiply 0, you get 0, yeah. Just says multiplying by 0 gives you 0. So 16 times 0 equals 0, or A times 0 equals 0, however you want to show that. What does that look like in real life? If you would be so kind as to open your books